All right, tonight we're looking at the impact that companies have when they source goods from local communities in a proudly South African way. South Africa's biggest miner of iron ore, Kumba, set a target of 500 million rand for procurement of goods from host community entrepreneurs last year. It says this number has been exceeded, with more than 160 host community suppliers benefiting. Kumba plans to spend 1 billion this year and double that number next year. It's been recovering from a slump in iron ore prices a few years ago, and it was one of the best performing stocks on the JSE last year. It operates the largest open pit mine in Africa, Sishen mine in the Northern Cape. Well, to discuss, we're joined by the head of supply chain development, Vusi Maseko. Great to have you with us. Vusi, how is this all working?
Thank you very much for the invitation. It is actually working very well with the communities. We've set ourselves the targets that you've just mentioned that we wanted to achieve, and as you said, we are actually achieving. We can't achieve that on our own. We're working with partners, the community leaders. They form business forums that we interact with. We're also working with the Northern Cape government and local municipalities. And of course, our own teams at the mines. It wouldn't be possible to achieve all of this without them.
How do you pick these suppliers? I understand the companies have to be 51% black owned.
True. So we have a development officer that actually does that for us way in advance. We have a team that goes out on a request for information for these people. They come forward and they express their interest, and we sit down with them. We do interviews. We assess their readiness to engage with us in procurement. And when we're happy that they are ready, then we put them aside that we can start transacting with them.
And what are they giving you? What are they supplying?
Well, they are supplying all sorts of services. As you know, we are a mining company, and those services will range from cleaning and go all the way up the value chain to the actual mining itself, processing, and supporting our engineering staff.
When you talk about spending 2 billion rand, so that money would have been spent anyway, basically, but now you're channeling it towards local entrepreneurs rather than overseas bidders, etc. Is that the idea, basically?
Of course. I mean, one of the things that we're aiming to do is to make sure that our host communities do benefit from the economic activities that are happening around them. Not only do we provide the employment, but we give them a chance that they can form suppliers and actually supply. And right now, it is happening.
So, Kumba, obviously, I think you're going through a good phase now, but times were tough a few years ago. By 2016, 30% of the workforce had gone. So I think this is something other companies have to look at. Can you really do good after you've laid off a whole lot of people from those very same communities? Yeah.
So some of those people actually that we had to lay off came from those communities. And it's like they've provided a pool from which we can get the services and actually get them at the levels that we would expect.
All right, so they know how you operate, so you're giving them the opportunity that was lost, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Does this show that doing good is good business? I mean, has it benefited you in any other way than kind of the helping local entrepreneurs and feeling good about it?
It has, and the proof of, it's always in the eating of the pudding. So when the minister, for instance, took his trip around the countryside interviewing people, and we actually got it from the communities themselves, the stories that they were telling about the work that they're doing for us, how satisfied they were, and for their own growth. And some of them have had opportunities to actually grow their own businesses to a level where they're not only engaging with us right now, and they're looking at going outside the Kumba borders and start engaging with other companies.
And was it a wake-up call? I mean, Marikana, I guess, showed that you need strong communities, thriving communities around mining areas, because the operations and the communities are linked.
Of course, and that's actually the driver that says, before we skip people right around us and do businesses elsewhere, can we not sit down and devise means of how we can get the local communities, the host communities, actually involved? So we run this enterprise development, and with development, those that can't supply immediately, we actually put them through an enterprise development program.
Well, how does this all fit into upskilling and the fourth industrial development? And we hear that South Africa is not ready for all this technological change in mining as well.
Well, what we've done so far actually proves that if you put your mind onto something and you firmly believe that it can work and you actually make it happen. I mean, one of the things that we do, we look at our own value chain, our own businesses, and we shape and engineer it in such a way that people are able to participate in that. Otherwise, if we keep things the same way, they will always act as a barrier and people will never be able to transact with us. I would imagine for us then to move into the fourth industrial revolution would actually start looking at re-engineering our businesses and creating those opportunities.
All right, well, we'll keep you to that assurance that you'll be spending 2 billion rand in 2 years on local supplies. That was the head of supply chain development at Kumba Iron Ore, Vusi Maseko.